Hey, what's up, players? It's time for another video series here. We're going to be doing another one in our Don't Be a Tool video series. And this is where I kind of break down some of the tools that are used commonly by cybersecurity professionals, ethical hackers, red teamers, those sort of things. And we're just kind of going through a whole slew of them. Last video we had started off with, actually started the video series off with Nmap, as that was one of the more popular ones. And you've been seeing through my different videos, if you follow my other video series, that I use something called Dradis Community Edition to set up kind of like checklists and cheat sheets, if you will. But it's an all-around great reporting tool for either AppSec testing or penetration testing, those sort of things. So we're going to talk about the Dradis Community Edition because I've been promising it through all my other videos, and now we're going to get to it. And I think the next one that we'll do is the Burp Suite, because I've been also promising that video as well on how to use that. So yeah, so let's get right to it. Now, in some of my real life jobs, I've used the pro version of this. So I'm going to actually kind of give you a comparison between the two as well, between the Community Edition of Dradis and also the pro version, because I do have experience with both. I did run into some issues installing and running it, and I'm going to go over those as well. They may only be specific to me and my environment, but if you do run into them, hopefully I can help with that. So Dradis Framework is a tool that allows you to compile different things like your reports. Let's say you're doing pen testing, or let's say you're doing web application pen testing, and you're using Burp Suite, and you do a dynamic application security test, and you have the results in Burp Suite, and you save the report of those results to either HTML or XML. Those are the two options you have in there to do it. If I could have some sort of dashboard tool where I can just import those findings, and it automatically creates a findings issues list for me that I can modify, add screenshots to, or what have you, that's a lot better than having to do the old school way that I used to have to do it, which was dump them into Excel and list out the findings, list out all the descriptions and remediations and all that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of that legwork away, and it gives it a nice dashboard, if you will, as well as the reporting. With the pro version, you get some really good reporting options where you can be very customized on how you do your Word reports or Excel or what have you. So it's a great tool for that. So, excuse me, doing my videos, I use it mainly for its methodology section to create what they call like cheat sheets or checklists, as it were. And I find the free edition that I have here, the Community Edition, allows me to do that pretty efficiently. And it works pretty well for me because I don't like typing during my videos if I don't have to, because I'm not a very good typer. And it takes up time and dead space, air on the videos, and I don't really care for that. So I've been using Dradis on all my other videos. You've seen me bring it up. You've seen me use it for checklists and commands that I've already had done ahead of time. So I'm going to show you basically how to get this bad boy working. So I'll leave links in the description as well for this location. So for the Community Edition, this is the free edition. It is very limited in what it can do compared to the pro version. But it's enough for what we need to do and use it for today. So you would come here to GitHub and you would clone that. So if you're not familiar with cloning, you essentially do something called git clone, like that. And then you would grab the IP address, such as this, if it's a site for Git that you can clone, and you would do that. Now I've already done it, and I have it listed here. What it will do is it will basically clone this whole entire folder structure right here. All of these files that you see right here, all of this will be cloned or copied into your environment. So I'm going to go back one here. So you can see right here, I have the Dradis CE version right here. So when I did the git clone from this directory, it actually created that folder. And so now when I go into CD Dradis CE, it has all the files that I need to do the Dradis setup. So on this one here, let's scroll down a little bit. And by the way, all the different plugins and integrations it has is pretty impressive. like Burp Suite, Nessus, more your common stuff, Nmap, Nikto. So it can ingest a lot of different output from these different tools, which is pretty cool. All right, so here we go. So they basically give you the way to do it, kind of what I was just kind of showing you. If you follow this step by step, you should be good. But there have been some issues on my end that I'll kind of go over. So essentially, first you clone it to wherever you want it to be. Then you CD into it like I've done now. And then you go ahead to run the bin setup. So if you look here, you'll see there's bin, right? So it's basically telling me to run whatever's in this folder. So if I look at CD bin, I'll see a setup folder in there, right there. Okay, setup file. And that will basically start the installation process. Now, it is using Ruby on Rails, and they have these things they call gem files. And just to kind of give you an idea what one looks like, I'm going to go ahead and cat the gem file here. And you can see here that it has all the different plugins, and it's what it uses to install. It's kind of like a text document that kind of automates the script and install of this particular program. It looks at the gem file and it says, all right, well, let me import these particular things that are listed in here, right? So it's looking at all of these different gems, as it were, like Brakeman and all this other stuff, and it's saying that we need to install it. Now, the issue that I ran into when I did this the first time was this one. So this is the original that was showing on mine, and it would give me errors all the time that it didn't, the dependencies weren't met, and it had to do with this paper trail gem that they were adding in. So after messing around and doing a little bit of reading, I found out that it actually would work if I just put gem paper trail, and it would get, I guess, the latest version of that particular one, because it seemed to have a problem with this location. So I was, navigating to those different URLs to try to find out where the error is. So essentially, if you have the same thing that I have here, and it has that, or it shows the one here, gem file, and it shows, where is it at? Right here, like right here. If it gives you errors because of that, what it shows here, then what I did to fix it in my instance was I commented out, which means it's not going to get processed, and I just put gem paper trail, and it seemed to work fine. After I did that, I also had to go ahead to the gemfile.lock, because now I had a new error that was popping up in relation to something called MIME magic. So let's go back and take a look at that. So I'll Control X. And I'm going to cat the gemfile.lock. And in this particular one here, oops, I guess it would be good if I actually typed it. Gemfile.lock. So what I had to do in this particular case was, I'm not sure what the issue is with that one in particular, but once I actually commented out the MIME magic, which I think is, let me scroll up here a little bit. Okay, right there. I thought maybe I didn't comment it out. Maybe I actually just put the right version or the current version. Interesting. So it does have the MIME magic here. If it doesn't work for you, again, what I would do is I would comment. I would put a hashtag in front of that to get it to work. But looking at it now, I'm not sure what the deal is with that. But I guess I have to look through it. Maybe there's another instance of MIME magic in there somewhere that I'm missing. It may be up in this area here. All right. So I don't know exactly where I had found that, apparently. But anyways, if you did have that issue, see right there, there's MIME magic again. Maybe I just had to put it to the new version. But anyways, if it does give you issues, I suppose you could comment out that and it would actually work. That's what it did for me. I also had to go ahead and manually install on my Kali Linux SQLite 3. And I did that with this command apt-get install libsql lite 3-dev, and that seemed to have fixed that error. So if you do run into any of those type of errors, and again, it may just be on my instance and the environment that I'm running, but if you do run into those are some issues that you can use to fix it. So once it's actually done and installed, which you'll see, let me go back here. So if you come back down to the installation, so once you've done the bin setup, and then you do the bin Rails server, essentially the command to run would be bundle exec Rails server. So every time now that it's installed, every time that you actually want to start it or run it, and I don't know why that just happened, then you would actually go ahead and have to run this first, and then from there you can log in to localhost 3000. That's the port it's going to run on. So once you're actually in the directory itself, which in this case I am, I can then run that particular command, and it should actually start up my Dradis instance. Now, I will keep in mind as well, there is also a Docker version of this that can run fairly well as well. I've run that one as well with not really any issues, but it's up to you, whatever you want to use for that. So I'm going to go ahead and do bundle exec Rails server to start up this Dradis CE version. It will then pop up, hopefully with no errors, and it will show the localhost address :3000. You do have to create a user account when you first log in, but I've already created an account, so it's not going to ask me for it in this case here. It's just going to ask me to log in with what I have, but it's going to ask you for a username and password that you want to use, and it will create it in its database and save it. So I'm going to go to localhost :3000, and then I'm going to put in my username, my name, and I'll put in my password. And that should log me into the Dradis Community Edition. Now, if you were using the Pro version, you would get a different menu. You wouldn't get this particular menu. You would get a different menu that allows you to pick what project you want to actually load into. With the free version, the Community Edition, there is no multiple projects. You only can do one project. That's it. So there's really no need to have a menu for all the different projects in the Community Edition because you can't have it. But on the Pro one, you have that, plus you have some different templates you can edit. They also have some really cool features like the remediation tracker. And what that will allow you to do is if you're the actual single seat license for that, you're the admin, you can actually create a ticket based on a particular find-in. So if I imported a find-in list from Burp Suite and there was a find-in for, hey, you didn't set the content security policy header or something to that effect, I can go to that issue and I can send it to the remediation tracker and I can create a ticket. Now with the Pro version, it's typically by license by seat. So for example, I think the most expensive one is called the Remediate plan to get this remediation tracker that I'm talking about. And I believe it's around $1,700 a year, if I'm not mistaken, unless they've changed. And that's for a single seat license. So just one admin login for that. So in that particular case, that's what you would log in, but they allow you unlimited amount of what they call contributors, which would be read-only. And the read-only contributors would be ones that you can use to set up, different email accounts to say, hey, listen, I want you to keep track of this find-in, and you have readability to look at it. And I want you to make sure that the teams that are appropriate for remediation are actually doing the remediation in the timeline given. So if it's a medium, sometimes they'll say 90 days to fix a medium find-in. So the remediation tracker, I would then set up a ticket for that, and I would assign it to a contributor, and I would give a status of it saying that it's open or new, and then I would also go ahead and give a date to say, okay, 90 days out from the day I'm submitting this is the time that they need to be done remediating it. And so to give due diligence to it, the contributor would then get alerts, and they would log into a dashboard. It wouldn't be the Pro Dradis one because, again, you'd have to purchase a seat to do that, but it would give you a version of it. And you would install something called a gateway that they would use there. And I will say this, that the staff at Dradis, and I'm not getting paid for this, this is not an advertisement or promotion, but the leadership there, I always, emailed and I had questions about how to set this up, how to set up Jira and all that kind of stuff. Super awesome support. And they were very detailed in how I do things. Like, okay, you're going to SSH in, and you're going to copy this file to here. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. So I was able to do it really easily from the instructions that they gave. And they always continually kept, hey, how's things going? Do you need any help with anything? So I will say the support is fantastic on it so far that I've noticed at the places I've worked at with it. But with the Remediate one, they would send you files to kind of tell you how to install the gateway, and then from there you would ask your local whoever runs your mail server at your workplace. They would have to give you the SMTP settings, and that way then you could put it into Dradis and say, this email address is a user that we're going to say is a contributor, and then from there the notifications and alerts would go to that. So if I commented on the actual ticket, it would then show up in their email saying, hey, Ray commented on this, take a look at it, or hey, it's becoming close to remediation time, things like that. It's a great tool. Again, that's only with the Remediate plan. There's about 3 or 4, I think there's like 3 different plans that you can purchase. Another one from that same Remediate plan is Jira Tracking, which is pretty awesome because you can go to an issue. Let's pretend again that it's the medium finding of no content security policy. You can click in that issue and you can send it to Jira. They only do a single URL Jira, so the company would have to obviously decide what their Jira URL is, single, and it would send the issue to that so that you don't really have to send them reports anymore. You don't have to compile them reports. If they need it, annually or biannually or whatever for leadership or stakeholders, you can still do that. But on a day-to-day basis, you don't have to send each team their own report. They can just see it in Jira. Hey, this is what it is. And it would actually have all the different issues. So an example of that would be, for instance, if I uploaded from the output from different tools. So if I click on that, you'll see there's a variety of tools that they work with. Now for me, for when I did application security testing, Burp Suite was my tool of choice. So I would click HTML for Burp. I would save my report output from when I did my Burp DAST scan, and I would save it in HTML format, but you can also do XML as well. And then from there, you would choose your file, and then below in this output console, it would show that it was importing it. Once it's imported it, it would then drop it under all issues as an actual issue. And when you actually are on here, you can actually create it from blank or from basic fields. So I can say, well, my issue in this case here is, missing CSP, whatever, and then give it a description, blah, 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 and say recommendation, blah, 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 fix now, and then tell them exactly how they fix it and point them to how to properly set the content security policy, so on and so forth. And over here, you would see kind of a preview of what it would look like. Now, all of this would actually be done and already pre-created with fields from the Burp output. So you wouldn't actually have to enter all that information in here. But if you wanted to add information to it, or if you wanted to add an attachment of a picture, then that would actually work as well. And it uses markup language as well. So for instance, if I wanted to do a link, I could do something like this, asterisk, and then I could do a space, quotation mark, and then I could say Burp, I'm sorry, I'll just say google.com. And then from there, I'll do a colon, and I would actually say https://www.google.com. And it would actually be, as you can see over here, formatted in a way where it's a clickable link, and the black square that you have here would be this asterisk given an indent in this case here. Now from there, I could also just do I believe just 2 of them like that, and I'm trying to remember what the second one was for. Anyways, I'm not very good at the markup stuff, but okay, so it's actually indent. Yeah, I can't remember. Anyways, but it uses your basic markup language formatting. But you can also use these here to do a link, and you can do like a code block. And I use this one quite a bit because I like to, you'll notice in some of my other videos, I'll have commands like for nmap commands and things that I want to run. So it's pretty cool because I can do a code block like this. And actually, you don't want to do it this route. So let me delete this. You actually want to include a space here like that before you do the actual markup, or it won't show properly. So I can do a code block and I can say nmap, you know, tac n, tac pn, tac sv, and then, you know, IP address, whatever. Okay, like that. And then a space afterwards. And so you can see it actually puts it into a code block format, which is pretty cool because it kind of like sets it out apart from the rest of the text. And I can kind of highlight it and then copy and paste it and do whatever. So that's where that's at. And you can also drop in some different attachments here as well. So if you had a screenshot or a picture of anything, which I don't think I have any pictures, but like maybe I do. Let me look under my pictures, see if I have anything. I don't think I do. No, I don't. Okay, so let me grab, I don't know, put Chuck Norris in here. Because Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups, he pushes down the world. So let's look at some images here. We'll grab some Chuck Norris action. And I don't know, let's grab this one here. It's a pretty awesome picture. And save picture, save image. Where's it at? There it is. So we'll say chucknorris.jpg. I'm going to put it in my pictures and save. There we go. Very cool. So now what I can do is I can bring up my pictures. And this would be obviously not Chuck Norris pictures. These would be, you know, evidence of your pen test. Like you say, oh, I'm doing this particular command and blah, blah, blah. And you're showing evidence in your pen test report. That's obviously what you would be putting in here. But this is just for demonstration. So I'm going to open up the folder. And we'll go to my pictures. Let's see. Why did it not show anything under my pictures? Let's see. Let's not do that. Let's see if we can just add from here. All right. Instead of drag and drop, I'm just going to go this way. There we go. All right. So we'll open. And you see here, it says chucknorris.jpg. So over here, let's just say that Chuck Norris is the recommendation. Chuck Norris knows Victoria's Secret, don't forget. So what I would do in this instance is all my attachments are already listed over here. I would then copy the link right there, like this, and then I can come down here and just paste that in directly as that, and boom, you can see over here on the right, it adds that picture in there directly. So it's pretty awesome. You can have all kinds of different attachments, so you can say, okay, you know, this is what it should look like. This is the evidence that shows that you do not have your content security policy, and show a screenshot of it, and there you go. So you can create the issues this way, and then at the bottom here, give it an issue, but you can also give it a tag. So I can say, this is a hi, and we'll create issue. Now it has that. Now, if it actually had screenshot evidence, for instance, when I import from Burp Suite, there may be, I don't know, let's say there's 20 pages from the website that I was scanning that has evidence that the CSP is missing, then that would show up under evidence, and it would be clickable links that you can click on. So it's not this massive dump of just all request response. You click on it and it would show the request and response. So it's not, you know, it's not inundating you with all that craziness. Also over here, we'll show any recent activity, but this is also what's cool is the CVSS calculator. So you can click edit, and you can start adding in your own scoring, right? So you can say, yeah, this is this, this is this, this is this, required, whatever, and add all this stuff in here. And then you can update the issue that has that particular one, right? So now when the person looks at the CVSS, they can see the base score listed on there as well. So really cool stuff. And if you use Dread, which I don't personally, but you can also do the Dread risk scoring as well, which is pretty awesome. You can also have people that subscribe to it, which would be for some free users that can subscribe to be able to view this, and they would be listed here. And you can also put in, you know, comments or whatever, and anybody that's subscribed to it can actually view the comments that you're having there. Again, it's going to be read-only. But yeah, so that's, I mean, that's how you can do that. Now, also in the Pro version, you have the ability to add this issue that you have here to something called an issue template or issue library. So right here you see, and actually I forgot, this is this already here? I don't know if this is with the, okay, no, you need the pro version. So in this case here, when you get the pro version, you can actually add a custom finding that you've made to an issue library, so you can use that as a template. So again, if you're not importing or ingesting from a tool like Burp Suite, or if you're just ingesting from a pen test report or something like that, that doesn't specifically use in a testing tool, but it has findings of, the HSTS header being set or whatever. You can create the entirety of it, customize it, add whatever titles you want to it, and then save that as an actual issue library. And then the next time you get a pen test report that has the same type of finding, you can bring that in and you say, create the issue from the issue template. And that way you can just modify the current things that are there, the current screenshots from that particular pen test report, which is pretty awesome to be able to do. Over here on the nodes portion of it, you would see any type of plugin output. So in other words, if I ran an Nmap scan and I actually imported that result from the upload tool right up here, it would actually show under plugin output, it would show the actual scan. Now it shows here whatever the IP addresses are. Now these are samples that come with the Community Edition. So these are nothing that I've run, but if you click on it, it shows that they did a scan of some sort and it shows the results here. And you can also list out the evidence listed on there as well. So this is kind of like a folder structure, if you will, where you can separate it based off of how many different IPs were scanned. And again, see, as you can see here, each one of these has their own IP address. And like this one here was a different one that had different output for Nmap. So depending on if you're scanning like a subnet or that sort of thing, that would be listed here. But these looks like something that would come from, looks like it's from Nessus. So if you look up here, it says Nessus host details. So it looks like that's probably the case. Yep. And therein also lies this notes thing as well, where you can click here and you can add a blank note to whatever the actual field is or the actual output that you have here. I'll just put whatever and then create note. It will be listed under here under notes for that, and you would actually add the title and all that kind of stuff as well, which is very cool. Now something else cool is if you go to edit here, anytime you're looking at this and you're seeing this WYSIWYG GUI version of doing this, like adding your own field or whatever, you can also go directly to source, and if you know the actual structure of it, you can just create it from here as well, which is pretty awesome as well. But like I mentioned, you can come in here and you can give it a category, you can edit the note, and then from here you can add a field to something, blah, 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 enter field name, stuff, whatever. And then from there you can enter a field value, and that's good to go. So now they've added a particular field and that. So, I mean, it's very customizable what you can actually do with that particular part of the tool, which is pretty cool. And again, if you want to create any of these different side notes over here, you can actually go ahead down through here, like say with scope, for instance, and you can put notes and say, okay, for my pen test or the DAS that I'm doing or whatever, these will be the URLs and accounts that I'm actually using. So you can have a record on hand so that when you need to recreate it or check like a remediation, you'll already have the information. So if they created like a test environment for you, like a QEB type of environment, and they give you credentials, that would be listed here that you can actually do that. So you can write it as a note in this case here, which is pretty cool. All right, and under the dashboard, you'll see based off of what I actually have done with issues, it'll show you a graphical display, that all the leadership people like all their charts and flow charts and pivot charts and what have you. This would be where that actual information would show as that. And you would also see over here on the right some recent activity that are listed on what's been actually done here. And up on the top here, these menus would be a little bit different, like I said, when you have the pro version. For example, if I click export and I wanted to export what I actually currently have, all I have right now is the basic HTML and default Dradis template, and it's not very graphical, obviously. It's not very good, but it's with the free version. Now, once you get the pro version, then you can start making some custom Word reports, and as you can see here, you can make it as you want it. So in other words, you create your Word template, put in the actual document property fields that you want, and then use that as a template to create all of your documents. So it has the same look and feel. So pretty awesome stuff to be able to do that, and they would actually import everything that you had in there. And you can, again, also do custom Excel ones and all that good stuff. But If I were going to do a basic HTML, I would just click it, and it would look kind of like this. So it would actually have the evidence, in the reporting that I had, in this case here being the issue that I've created, and this basically is what it would look like, right? In this case, having the actual CVSS one in there as well. So it's a very basic report. It's not really big time format on it. It's just HTML stuff. So that would be kind of what you're looking at for that. Again, with the Pro version, you get a lot more options of what you can do for export. And again, with Change Project, you can't do that with the Community Edition because you can only have one project on that. As far as configurations go, there really isn't too many that you would do other than configuration for your plugins and your add-ons. In this case here, it talks about what you can do for the different add-ons that are listed in the gem file that you installed, and they give you some information on that. And they do actually have really good documentation on some of the other features that they use as well. Notifications would be whatever you have sent to you based off of whatever if you're a contributor or a tester in this case. But let's go over to the methodologies, because this is the part that I really dig, and this is what I use for my different video series. So for example, last one I did was Nmap, and that's a lot of typing. So what I did is I created a methodology called Don't Be a Tool, and I started off by just clicking where it says Add List, and I made one called Nmap. And so if I click on it and click on Basic Usage, it'll show the methodology that I created. Okay, in this case here, it allows me in my videos to just kind of go and copy and paste and just put them in there without having to type everything. And so it kind of also keeps me on point to make sure I don't go into a bunch of different sidebars. If I have a plan for a video and I have a particular steps I'm following, this also will allow me to keep myself in check to not kind of go off on weird sidebars and things like that. But again, using if I look at the edit part of it here, so I'll click on edit, you'll see that I was using the markup language, like for this here, for the block code, I was using the markup language to give me the markup code block, if you will, right here. And then for this stuff, I didn't use any of the markup. But if I did want to, I can just kind of like highlight and I can say bold. And it would show this is the markup for it. And then you would see it listed over here. But in this case, I have to actually make it like that. There we go, I think. There we go. So I actually did it incorrectly. I highlighted some space afterwards, and I did the bold. But again, you can modify it, and you can see in real time what the results would look like over here. So in this case, it's shown as bold. Same thing with italics and all that other stuff. So if you know your markup language stuff, or if you don't, you can obviously use this stuff up here to do it directly. So if you want to copy a link into, if you want to make a table, ordered list, unordered list, add images, those sort of things, you can do it that route. When it comes to adding images, though, I've noticed that the best way for me to do it is to actually upload the attachment and copy the link directly and paste it in directly, not using any of this markup, but actually just paste it in directly, right? That's the idea. And then when you're done making this, massive list of whatever you have, then you can update the card, in this case here, and it would save whatever you had done with it. Okay, so if you go back to the board view and do it this route, this is how you would do it, right? So for instance, if I click Add List, my next video I'll probably do will be like Burp Suite. So I'll say Burp Suite, and then from there, Add List, and then I'll click on Add Task. So I have now a list that I have here, and I can say Add Task, and then from there, I may say, basic usage, and then from there, start entering some different fields and some different names. I may just say, hey, let's see, how to spider or something like that. And then what I'll do is I've kind of gotten the habit of just typing in the markup myself instead of using the link thing up top there. And I would say, I don't know, right click URL and click spider or crawl or whatever it is, and it would show in there like that, right? So it's kind of giving me notes for it, if you're using it for videos or things of that nature. It kind of keeps you on track with what you're doing. And this is where I would put in command line stuff that I would have to do that either A, I don't remember, or two, it makes it a lot quicker during a video instead of typing all that kind of stuff. For the usage, in a pen test kind of field or a web app kind of thing, you can use it. Like, say, for instance, I have a CTF cheat list here, a cheat sheet. So, for instance, if I came across anything in my wargaming or CTF and it had something to do, I don't know, let's say there was a base 64 encoded, credential or something, and I said, I can't remember the actual command line to do that, the base 64 TAC D one. So I can actually go to my command list here and click base 64, and I say, oh, okay, that's what it is. And then from there, I have that ability, right? And what you can do is you can make this into a checklist, and you can say things to do, things in progress. So in this case here, I could make a methodology that was the OWASP tested methodology. So if I had an application security tester and I needed to make sure that each one that he did, each DAS that he did, he followed the actual, or IST, he followed the actual OWASP checklist. I can give tasks there, and I could say, Spider could be one, and I could say Spider website, like that, to give a description of what it is. And what they would do then is when they enter their reports and stuff in here, if they did the Spider portion, they would click it and they would drag it over here to either in progress or done, right? And so at the end of it, then we can see, okay, due diligence, yes, he did all of these different things that he was supposed to do, so we don't miss anything. Because sometimes when you do a test, a pen test or a web app scan or something like that, you may forget a couple steps. This way I can have a cheat sheet that's always there, that's always saying, listen, do these 15 things before you say you're complete with a project. And that way you drag it over to either in progress or done in this case. For me, again, I use it more for the cheat sheet side of it, where I can make a bunch of different commands and all kinds of cool stuff like that. And that's basically what I do. Like, for instance, if I come back here and I look at my try hack me stuff, I click on that, and these would be the CTFs that I do. The pop, another server drop one. So I'll know kind of ahead of time what I kind of want to do with it to teach it. Because again, I don't want to have a lot of dead air when I'm doing video. So I want to make sure that I'm not sitting there going, what should I do next? I want to kind of get that ahead of time when I'm doing a video. That'd be different if I was doing like a live session of it, which I plan on doing eventually. But here, for instance, on Steel Mountain, if I decided, okay, I'm going to do a video of Steel Mountain, I start off and I click on it, and it will show me, okay, well, there's my Nmap scan that I will do. And then I would say, okay, the next thing I would do would be looking up the CVE for, whatever this is, and then here, the Metasploit, and all the different commands I would run. So I use it basically for that sort of thing. So the methodologies thing is really cool. And when you buy the Pro version, they give you a variety of different templates that you can download for free. And there would be things like the OWASP top 10 checklist, like the testing guide version 4. They also have the one from the Web Application Hackers Handbook. So their methodology, their checklist is on there. A few other ones. There's a few other different templates that you can download and install. So the Pro version will give you access to all that kind of stuff as well, which is really awesome. So that's what I use it for this, is just the methodologies portion of it. So other than that, that's pretty much the whole thing for the Dradis Community Edition. Again, because you could only run one project with the Community Edition, so they don't give you a whole lot of options of what you can do as far as like importing issues. So you wouldn't use it on a daily basis because it wouldn't be able to record or keep in the database, multiple different projects that you're working on. So I do recommend them if your company does some sort of AppSec program or Pentest internal. I do recommend them to have this for the reporting features, but also for the Jira integration, the remediation tracking. I can say confidently with the times I've used it at workplaces, it works fine, works great. And the support has always been really good. They're very quick on responding to me. It's always the same people as well. So it seems to be a pretty small, tight-knit group of people that kind of run it. I will say this, as far as the Pro version goes, they will give you a VM, a virtual machine image of Dradis. That's how it comes. So if you're doing purchasing or if you have to go through some TPRM process, which we had to do at some different places I worked at, do be aware that we don't actually communicate with Dradis per se when we use their products. So in other words, we host the VM ourselves in our network, and I connect to it from wherever it's hosted. So it's not a direct, it's not being managed essentially by Dradis, right? The subscription and all that kind of stuff is, but the actual image and the working version of Dradis is managed by you, yourself. And it comes, like I said, in a VM. So if you have VMware or VirtualBox, it comes in that image. In our instance, we do a lot of stuff with AWS and in the cloud. So at some places that I worked at. And so there's an AMI, which is a cloud version essentially for AWS of a product. They do create, or they do offer the VM version of it in an AMI, but they don't support it officially because, again, it's AWS. But they did help me quite a bit as far as setting it up and all that stuff, because you would have to give them things like your AWS ID number for whatever, for wherever instance you're actually putting it into, for them to actually have you hosted on that. But outside of that, they don't support it officially, but they've been very helpful because there is a guy there that kind of does a lot of that sort of thing, or has done that before, and he answered a lot of my questions. But officially, they don't support it. They do officially support the VM version that they have. But again, they do have some versions like the AMI for AWS. I don't know about the other cloud environments, but for the AWS stuff, they do provide it. It is a working instance. I can say it does work. I've used it in the past with other companies. So they do a real good job of giving it to you. But that's the format it will come in. So it's already going to be all pre-configured and all that stuff, so you don't have to worry about the nonsense I ran into when I wasn't getting the gem file correct and this and that. And then from there, once it's actually up and running, they will give you, once you buy the Pro version, they'll give you a set of credentials that you would be able to use, things like your SSH credentials to SSH into it, which also you can use as an SCP credential. So for me, I had to actually SCP a variety of different files over to integrate the remediation tracker and the JIRA tracker, and they will send you all of that when you ask them. They say, hey, listen, I need to set up the remediation tracker, and they'll send you a file and an email, 2 files or 2 or 3 files, whatever it takes. And then in the email, they'll list step-by-step the exact commands that you run, which is really helpful. So then I just SCP it over, and I just copy the commands into it, and it worked, no problem, so no issues. So the commands I give you, real good support on that as well. And again, they're not sponsoring this video, but I'm just giving them an ups on this, that it does work well, and their support really does help quite a bit. So it's a great tool. I would highly recommend it for your company if you are running sort of things like, programs like for penetration testing and AppSec, that sort of thing, because it'll change the way that you do things as far as your dashboard and all that kind of good stuff there as well. So yeah, that would be the end of this particular discussion. And I think what we'll do for the next one for Don't Be a Tool will be probably Burp Suite, because that one I use quite a bit. And I keep saying in my videos, yeah, I'm going to do a video on this, but I never do. So I'll probably do that for my next tool-in-one, and we'll also start doing some other things. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see there's some other video series I have. I have one called Pop, 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 another server drop, and that was me going through different CTFs, and I actually break down why I'm doing what I'm doing to beat the capture the flag, and the commands I'm running, why I'm running them, the methodology behind it. So it's more of a learning session using a capture the flag environment. Pretty cool stuff. And we use TryHackMe for most of it. And then another video series I got called Bounty Hunter Training, and that's where I go over web application security specific things like CSRF or XSS or what have you. And we go over those specific things to aid you if you're doing bug bounty programs, to give you a little bit of knowledge on how to do web application pen testing essentially from that. And Dradis would be good for that sort of thing as well, for the reporting. So yeah, so subscribe, click the bell notification, and check out the other videos I have and the other series as well. But yeah, and you can check me out at www.shikaraganai. Replace the I's with a 1, and you have the full name. So shikaraganai.com. Until next time, peace out, players.